The morning sun rose quietly over the industrial park, slipping through the high warehouse windows like a secret that didn't want to be seen. The hum of the machines echoed softly, rhythmic, familiar, almost comforting. Workers moved with quiet discipline, checking inventory, marking pallets, sealing cartons. On the surface, it was just another ordinary day at DJ Agriculture, but beneath the calm, something had shifted. A new kind of silence hung in the air, not peaceful, but watchful. As if the warehouse itself was waiting for something to happen. From the small glass office above the floor, James Nguyen stood by the window, a cooling cup of coffee in his hand. The company's logo gleamed faintly on the far wall, bold, proud, and steady. But James's eyes weren't on it. He was watching the two men who had just walked through the gate, strangers in crisp gray suits, carrying clipboards. Behind him, the door opened softly. Deep, his partner, stepped in, adjusting her sleeves. "They're here again," she said quietly. James nodded. "Harvest Link supervisors," she frowned. "Did we agree to that?" he sighed. "Technically? Yes. Clause 8 allows them to review export logistics." Supposedly a formality. Down below, John, the operations manager, was already confronting them. His voice, sharp and impatient, carried across the room. "We already have our own system," he snapped. "You can't just walk in and start taking notes like you own the place." James set down his cup and started for the stairs. "I'll go talk to them," he said. The two representatives smiled with professional politeness as James approached. "Mr. James," one said smoothly, "we're from Harvest Link's Quality Control Division." "Routine verification before the next shipment goes out," John scoffed. "Routine? You've been verifying for 3 days straight." James raised a hand, calm but firm. "It's fine, John. Let them do their job. But gentlemen, we'll need an official record of your inspection." Every note, every adjustment, signed by both parties. A brief flicker of discomfort crossed their faces. "Of course," one replied quickly. From across the room, Deep watched, arms folded, eyes sharp. She noticed how their smiles never reached their eyes. They weren't inspecting product quality. They were measuring control. When the men finally left, John kicked at a loose screw on the floor. "They're not checking the rice, boss. They're checking who's really in charge." James said nothing. His silence said enough. That afternoon, Han, the accountant, appeared at his office door with a worried look. "Mr. James, they just requested access to our shipment invoices." They say it's for financial transparency. I didn't approve it. James took the papers, his tone controlled but cold. Good. Don't send them anything without my signature. Deep leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. They're tightening the net. James nodded slowly. That's what big corporations do when they smell weakness. Do they think we're weak? No, he said. They're testing if we are. That night, when the warehouse finally went quiet, James sat alone in his office. The contract folder lay open before him, worn, creased, its corners soft from countless readings. Yet tonight, something caught his eye, a new reference number buried under operational oversight. Curious, he typed it into his laptop. A document popped up, an electronic addendum attached after signing. It read, in extended partnership, Harvest Link International reserves the right to conduct continuous on-site monitoring for quality assurance and compliance. James leaned back slowly, whispering to himself. They slipped it in afterward. The door opened quietly. Deep entered, setting down a bowl of soup. You've been up here for hours. They modified the contract, he said without looking up. Added a clause after the signature. Her voice froze. Can they do that? Not legally. But unless we challenge it, it stays. Then we challenge it. He smiled faintly. You make it sound simple. It is simple, she said. We either let them decide who we are, or we don't. The next morning, the rain came, steady and cold. James called Mr. Duke, the lawyer who'd once helped with their import license. You're right, Duke said after reviewing the file. That appendix is unlawful. They can't extend supervision without consent. I'll draft a formal notice to the trade office. Relief flickered through James's voice. Thank you. As he hung up, Deep joined him by the window. So what now? We wait, he said. But I'll send them a message first. He opened his laptop and began typing. Subject: Partnership Clarification. Dear Mr. Min, DJ Agriculture welcomes cooperation and transparency. However, our contract defines partnership, not ownership. Any further inspections must be approved mutually. We believe trust is stronger than supervision. Best regards, James Nguyen. He reread it twice before hitting send, polite, measured, yet unmistakably firm. That night, John came by, his jacket damp from the drizzle. Boss, I saw those men again, at the Golden Orchid Hotel. They were talking to our suppliers. Deep frowned. Trying to isolate us. John nodded. If they scare the smaller suppliers, they'll force you to depend on them. James's eyes hardened. Then we show them what independence looks like. How? John asked. By doing what they can't, producing without fear. Later, as the warehouse lights dimmed, Deep sat flipping through a child's drawing, their daughter Nee's sketch of the warehouse under a bright yellow sun. You remember what you said when we started? She murmured. That DJ wasn't about profit, but dignity. James nodded, eyes distant. Dignity's easy to talk about, until it's tested. She placed the drawing on his desk. Then let's pass this test. Together. The lights below glowed faintly in the mist, small, stubborn stars refusing to go dark. Days later, an email arrived. Subject: Review meeting invitation, Harvest Link International. Location: Golden Orchid Hotel, 10 a.m. The tone was polished, professional, but unmistakably authoritative. Deep frowned. They're not inviting you to a meeting. They're summoning you. James closed his laptop. Then let's make it worth the trip. The next morning, dressed in a gray suit Deep had ironed at dawn, James walked through the fragrant lobby of the hotel, jasmine and coffee filling the air. Mr. Min greeted him with a neutral smile. Mr. James, thank you for coming. They sat. Rain pattered softly against the glass behind them. Your email was direct, Min said. Clarity is part of professionalism, James replied evenly. True, Min said. But clarity can sound like challenge. James leaned forward slightly. I'm not comfortable calling it supervision when it feels like control. Min folded his hands. We've seen partners fail, poor management, internal conflict. We protect our investment. What you're doing isn't protection, James said quietly. It's possession. Min studied him for a long moment. You're passionate. But passion doesn't pay debts. Neither does silence, James countered. We both took risks. The difference is, we didn't sign away our soul for safety. The room fell still. Rain streaked the glass like threads of thought neither man wanted to voice. If stability means I can't pay my workers without your approval, James continued, then it's not partnership. It's ownership. Min's composure cracked just slightly. You speak like a man who's forgotten the scale of this world. No, James said. I just remember the size of my own. For a moment, the air changed, not victory, but recognition. I'll review the restrictions with our legal team, Min said finally. It may take a few days. Take your time, James replied. We're not going anywhere. 3 days later, the rain stopped. Han burst into the office, waving a paper. Mr. James. The bank confirmed. Harvest Link lifted the dual authorization. We have full access again, Deep gasped. Just like that? James read the short message. Due to procedural adjustment, DJ Agriculture accounts have been released. We look forward to continued cooperation. He smiled faintly. Not just like that. They saw we weren't afraid. Moments later, John rushed in from the yard. Boss. The supplier got paid. He's back on schedule. For the first time in weeks, James laughed, a sound of release more than joy. Good. Let's keep the machines running. That evening, the warehouse came alive. Boxes stacked, forklifts rolled, laughter returned. The scent of rice and roasted coffee filled the air, simple, honest proof that life was still moving. From the doorway, Deep watched James greet each worker by name. His exhaustion had a new shape, not defeat, but peace. When the last truck left, they climbed the small hill behind the warehouse. The sunset poured gold across the valley. So, we won? Deep asked. No, James said, looking out across the fields. We just didn't lose. She smiled softly. That's enough. He took her hand. You were right. Dignity doesn't live in the contract. He touched his chest. It lives here. Down below, the warehouse lights glowed like quiet stars, stubborn, alive, unbought. We built this from nothing, James whispered. We kept it with everything. Deep leaned against his shoulder. And that's worth more than any deal. Above them, the clouds broke, and the first stars appeared, fragile, but free. Because sometimes, true strength isn't about shouting louder. It's the silent choice to stay honest when compromise would be easier. That night, they didn't just save a company. They saved themselves, and proved that trust will always outlast control.